My name is Rijas, managing founder and managing director and founder of ThoughtBox. I'll just give a brief about ThoughtBox. ThoughtBox is a fintech company, a financial technology, let's say a product engineering company doing or working with a couple of products, which is majorly into cross-border payment systems. Cross-border payment system, if I give a short example, we enlarge work with moving logistics of money across borders, country to country. We work with approximately 100 plus correspondent networks of banks, majority of, let's say, mainstream banks in India, as well as MTOs, money transfer operators across the globe, including Western Union, MoneyGram, Ria Money, kind of, you might have heard these names. So, we do have 4 to 5 major products. One is Intellect's fintech suite, which is a financial technology suite, a core system which handles payment, cross-border payment operations. Then there is an anti-money laundering system. Any of you have heard about anti-money laundering? Just raise your hand. Yeah, thank you. So this is one of the crucial operations in money logistics. Then there are digital components, just like what we do, like PhonePe, Google Pay kind of things, but that in a cross-border scale. So these are the products typically we work with. Then there is a fourth product which is called as Remitrans, which is in large cross-border, let's say, PhonePe or Google Pay. And this year, in the first quarter, we filed a patent with within India, for one of our technology called a TransKey, which works with a smart contract, a centralized smart contract, which may seem slightly different because smart contracts are known with the blockchain and distributed systems. This is a new concept with a centralized one, leveraging the capacity of smart contracts and working seamlessly within a regulatory framework. What we typically do, I'm happy one or the other way to see that today all the speaks are, or the nodes are going on with zero downtime, high availability, and live migration. This is a funny or a nice thing to hear. I started my journey in 2004 in the tech arena, approximately 20 plus years in the same industry. So, in the starting time, if I give an example, today we are talking about artificial intelligence, we are talking about distributed database, we are talking about Kubernetes, live migration. Fantastic to hear. I started in a time, and the first computer I have used was 1.6 gigahertz Pentium 4 processor with a 128 megabit RAM and a 40 gigabit storage. If I give it a different word, every smartphone you are handling or holding in your hand will be 10 or 15x times powerful than that computer. At that time, all these legacy technologies, languages were there to power up the software industry. We, in this suite, typically use Go as a language powered by Google for our all backend operations. Then there are Microsoft .NET framework. Then we use Flutter for our front-end development. And for every application, we all know you need a critical database. Correct? Anybody working seriously with the database engines? Please raise your hand. The backend systems. Much more into database side? Can you just raise your hands? Nobody? Yeah. Only one person, I think. Yeah. So, knowingly or unknowingly, you'll be using a database behind the scene. Without a database, an application, specifically a business application, this is hard to run. You have to keep the data somewhere, somehow. So, in the old days, we were working with the legacy databases. Today, I'll be trying to explain much more about our journey with YugabyteDB for this kind of applications, how we done all this type of engineering and all this thing. So, this is one of our applications. And what we have done in the industry past years, ThoughtBox founded in 2012, and in this journey, we have introduced a number of seriously innovative stuff into the fintech industry, in the cross-border payment systems. The first one comes in 2012. We launched the first cloud-based solution, which was a little bit, മലയാളത്തിൽ പറയുമ്പോൾ സമയത്തിന് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ കാലത്തിന് മുന്നേ നമ്മൾ ലോഞ്ച് ചെയ്യാന്ന് പറയും. Honestly saying, even though we launched, ഇത് അത്ര ക്ലിക്ക് ആയില്ല. But it was an introduction we could do because people were thinking about at that time in 2012, നമ്മൾ ഗൂഗിളോ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ എടുത്ത് സെർച്ച് ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ, when you search about cloud computing, especially fintech industry works in a very closed atmosphere, very serious in fact, the operations are, because the commodity is money. നമ്മൾ മൂവ് ചെയ്യുന്ന component is പൈസയാണ്. ഇപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ ഗൂഗിൾ പേയിൽ ഒരു പേയ്മെന്റ് കൊടുത്തു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ, if the other person didn't receive it in the next moment, you panic. Let it be 10 rupees or 1,000 rupees. Correct? They are in the same opinion, right? So, the criticality of the regulatory framework is controlling it, just like Reserve Bank of India in India. And every country will have a central bank to regulate this kind of operations. So, moving from on-prem infrastructure to a cloud-based infrastructure was a challenge in that time. We've done that effort in 2022 quite early. And whenever you search, you will see all negative discussions majorly. Cloud computing, especially in the regulated framework. You will see that, cloud computing, the data is shared, this one is shared, X is shared, and the data is not safe, all this thing. So honestly, it didn't click that much, but that traction, that note, that effort what we have done today gives us a lot of mileage to adopt our technology for our clients. Then the second thing is a quite major one, and we don't have any competition there. One of the pretty important element we have introduced called a proactive defense into anti-money laundering. This is a very serious stuff. What happens is, a transaction, what happens, button pressing, there are many things going on behind. Without the customer doesn't know it, does not have to know about it. What happens when the moment you tap on, it checks for fraud, for example, that is in the fraud detection. Cross-border payment, this is a much more higher in terms of risk. What happens, there are, anybody have heard, you guys worked in AML, might have heard about watch list. Watch list means all the bad guys, or let's say not only the bad guys, there are guys who, for example, politically exposed persons, we call it. These all ministers, as well as high-profile persons working with the government, politically exposed persons, literally in that term. Those guys are involved within it, or within the database available, and all the terrorist organizations, financial crime persons, everybody is there. The effort here, when the transaction happens, we have to check against. If any of them are involved in this transaction, in the customer or a beneficiary, every transaction contains minimum 2 persons. One is a sender, and another person is the beneficiary. So if there are any, then we have to take appropriate action, for example, hooking the transaction, holding it, submit it for a review, then there can be an investigation or a case. And the case has to go with multiple hands. At least a minimum 2 persons, we call it the 4I concept. It has to go. Review ചെയ്തതിന് ശേഷമാണ് ഈ ഒരു ട്രാൻസാക്ഷൻ ബെനിഫിഷ്യറിന്റെ കയ്യിലെത്തുന്നത്. The speed is important. Turnaround time നമ്മൾ പറയുന്ന ബെനിഫിഷ്യറി ക്രെഡിറ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്ന ടൈം ഇമ്പോർട്ടൻ്റ് ആണ്. ഇതിൽ മോസ്റ്റ് ഇമ്പോർട്ടൻറ്റ് ചലഞ്ച് is even today majority of banking, semi-banking institutions are running it in a reactive approach, which means the transaction happens first, you get a payload, then you analyze anything is there. The transaction you have already accepted. Then now you are trying to work out if there is anything wrong. If it is wrong, then you take an action. Proactive defense is just, you can compare if any network administrators are here, similar to a network firewall or a UTM device. The moment it comes in, you stop it, you check everything. If it is completely good, you entertain the data. You permit the transaction, which means a proactive layer 1 defense is there. It is pretty difficult to handle, first of all, because of the load, the workload it has to carry. And my experience, whenever we work with a typical check of a transaction, conducts 35 to 40 million scans in a moment against one transaction we have to do. And I don't think it is easily doable with a legacy programming language, for example, because you have to do a lot of techniques to handle it. In 2020, what we have done, there was a test conducted in UAE, United Arab Emirates, with the Central Bank of UAE. We could work with one of non-brand, or let's say a very well-reputed brand in UAE, and 16 to 17 companies were invited for the pilot. The test was just like that. There is a platform called AML Analytica. I'm just giving a little bit idea about what was that. And what is the line of engineering we do. So, the difficulty is here, you have to conduct the testing. They give you approximately 60 to 90,000 records to scan and submit the result back to the platform. It will analyze what is the line of accuracy you have, how much your systems are better to defend this kind of thing, especially screening, just matching the name. If you check, രണ്ട് പേരുകൾ തമ്മിൽ സെർച്ച്, രണ്ട് ആൾക്കാരുടെ പേരുകൾ തമ്മിൽ സെർച്ച് ചെയ്യാൻ there is no such algorithm. നമുക്ക് രണ്ട് ടെക്സ്റ്റ് തമ്മിൽ കമ്പയർ ചെയ്യാം. ഇപ്പോൾ സൗണ്ട് ടെക്സ്റ്റ് പോലത്തെ ടെക്നിക്ക് വി യൂസ് ഇൻ ഒറാക്കിൾ. അതേപോലെ നമുക്കൊരു സ്ട്രിംഗ് കമ്പാരിസൺസ് നമുക്ക് എഴുതാം. ബട്ട് രണ്ടാൾക്കാരുടെ പേരിൽ there are number of nuances. ഇപ്പൊ എൻ്റെ പേര് റിജാസ് എന്ന് പറയും, റിജാസ് എന്ന് പറയും, ഒരു എ കൂട്ടിയിട്ട് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ഇറ്റ് സ്പെൽസ് ദ സെയിം. വി കോൾ ഇറ്റ് ആസ് ഫോണറ്റിക് സിമിലാരിറ്റി അല്ലെങ്കിൽ മെറ്റഫോണിക് സിമിലാരിറ്റി എന്നൊക്കെ പറയും. അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ഒരു ലെറ്റർ മാറ്റി കഴിഞ്ഞാലും RI എന്നാണ് എൻ്റെ റിയൽ നെയിം. ഈവൻ ഇഫ് യു ചേഞ്ച് ടു RE, ഇറ്റ് ഈസ് ഫൈൻ, ഇറ്റ് സൗണ്ട്സ് ദ സെയിം. അപ്പൊ ഇതിൻ്റെ ഉള്ളിലുള്ള ന്യൂവാൻസുകൾ പലപ്പോഴും ദീസ് ബാഡ് ഗൈസ് ആർ ഡൂയിങ് ദിസ് ജോബ് വിത്ത് സ്ലൈറ്റ് വേരിയേഷൻസ്, interchanging the names or just trying to alter the name and do the job. So, he conducted a test. Our challenge was to provide the best possible result. And we could probably say we got a 99.97% accuracy in the initial run. And with the fine-tuned result, it was 100%, which is a global benchmark in AML Analytica platform. So, this we done. And after that, and which is really hard to achieve, first of all. And we were not expecting that, that much quality. We didn't know that time what is the result going to come out. Idin itrayum oru workload 35-40 million of check in a fraction of a second to execute and a heavily workload oriented ആയിട്ടുള്ള സിസ്റ്റത്തിൽ ചെയ്യാന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ഇതിന് ശേഷമാണ് നമ്മൾ ഈ പറയുന്ന ഡിഫൻസും കാര്യങ്ങളൊക്കെ നടക്കുള്ളൂ. If it is there, then we have to look into what has to be taken care. ഇങ്ങനത്തെ ഒരു ഹെവിലി ലോഡഡ് ഡാറ്റയുടെ പുറത്ത് നമ്മൾ ഇതിൻ്റെ ഒരു അസസ്മെന്റ് ചെയ്ത് അതിനുശേഷം there are number of rules. This is just a scanning. Then there are patterns. You have to identify patterns. For example, somebody working in or an Emirati national or a Qatari national sending money to Sri Lanka, which is not a common pattern. An Indian sending money to Pakistan, it's an impossible pattern sometimes. So these kind of deviations, hundreds of deviations in the system, ഇതൊക്കെ ഐഡന്റിഫൈ ചെയ്യാന്നുള്ളതാണ് ഈ ആന്റിമണി ലോണ്ടറിംഗ് എന്ന് പറയുന്ന ഒരു സൊല്യൂഷന്റെ ഇമ്പോർട്ടൻസ്. സോ ദിസ് ഈസ് വൺ ഓഫ് ദ critical product, the defense what we launched. First digital product in our domain or our segment, not in the banking, not in the general banking. Bank definitely have mobile applications and all since long, but semi-banking or the out of India, diaspora, other expats working സ്ഥലത്ത്, for example, if I give a simple comparison. നമ്മളിവിടെ ഗൂഗിൾ പേ ചെയ്യുന്നത് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഫോൺ പേ ചെയ്യുന്നത് സ്മോൾ ടോക്കൺസ് ആയിരിക്കും. അതായത് 50 rupees, 100 rupees, 1000 rupees. What we do, in our system, a transaction happens across border, starting from 1,000, for example, and goes up to crores of Indian rupee. If it is a corporate transaction, it can be in millions. So, token size will be too big to handle. Our salary can normally transfer it. And nobody plays with the 150 rupee. And it's not just a payment system, it's a cross-border remittance system. We launched it in 2017 in Qatar with a company called, branded as, let's say, known as Al-Murqab. Even today we have a strong presence in this region and our solutions are known one of the best with the class UI UX stuff. this year, first disaster tolerant solution we launched. This is where I just want to give an experience with what was our journey with YugabyteDB. What is a disaster tolerant system? Let's say, I നേരത്തെ പറഞ്ഞ 1.6 gigahertz power computer in the സമയത്ത്, all these monolithic systems are there. Anybody from a serious back-end engineering here? I do believe majority of you guys, correct? Yeah. So here, what is the percentage of trust you have to your application? Do you trust 50%, 100%, 70%? And how much you trust your back-end infrastructure? Typically what happens in the old days, we trust the infrastructure a lot. We say, and we have backup systems running. We have multi-site deployment, active, passive, active, whatever. All these things are there. Some of them are hard to achieve. We keep in the dock, seriously saying we have all active, real-time failover, X or Y. Normally, even including myself, I'm not an exception. And the experience is we were trusting the application, trusting the IT infrastructure. We keep everything in a site, implement everything within, and we say this will run for long. And if anything goes wrong, then we have some sort of backups and all. We think it doesn't happen normally. We say it may not happen. That is a trust I was saying. If it goes wrong, what you will do? Then you have to work with the backups, restore it, and the restoration, if it fails, oh, super. Everything will be very nice then. We had an incident in 2015, working with one of our clients. We were working with one of the non-database. The database is designed in that way. It was MS SQL. The database is still amazing, but unfortunately, our incident was slightly different. What happened is, we had a downtime. And our team got a call, we entered in. When we look into, the issue was the primary systems are down. It was a RAID 5 hardware infrastructure server. One of the hard disk was showing faulty. Typically, when in a RAID 5 atmosphere, out of 3, minimum is 3, out of 3, one disk is gone, it is fine. The second disk is gone, you are gone. So it was showing only one. We were getting an amper light in the hardware, and we were looking into it. Then the server was in the reboot position, just trying to reboot. Then we had a hot swap with the disk rebooted. The second disk started showing faulty. It was completely the hardware fault actually. Then we understood the situation is critical. Just to add, just like a Google Pay, if you do sometime Google Pay, Phone Pay, or any type of UPI payment within India, the moment you receive something, the receiver bank is busy or the bank is not entertaining, this kind of, you're frustrated actually. This is, we call it as a mission critical applications. It needs every single second, it has to be up and running. Okay. So they was having slight cold, so we're just trying to keep it hot. So, I stop is a mission critical one here. What happened? Normally transaction if it goes down, this is completely different. We understood the criticality. Then we started working on the primary systems at the same time. We have the backup systems. We started working, but unfortunately, this is a complete unfortunate situation. Even the backup systems had some problem. Actually, the backups we don't keep. We are into the product engineering and the delivery. It has to be done by the company. We set it up and they have to maintain. The maintenance was somewhere wrong. And we were jumping, we understood, this is something crucial and we have to take some sort of steps. Just to make it short, it took 2.5 weeks to bring the data up. We restored the business within a day. A day in a mission critical something makes sense. We've done it. Then we restored in 2.5 weeks the data with a 99% accuracy. The exercise was a story. We could do it. From that point onwards, personally, I was having a research, looking for something which I don't trust. I don't trust anymore, and it should work. In 2007 onwards, when the cloud computing terminology came into the picture, what happens is all these trusted mechanisms would change slightly. Cloud, in fact, is built for, just like the gentleman just before me, Coste, I think, who was presenting a Kubernetes live migration, such a nice topic. Here, this is the exact point. You don't trust anything. You don't want to trust it, but still, everything has to run pretty smooth. This is how I was thinking at a point, which one, especially the database, this is the most critical component. Application, only a few minutes you can spin up. And we work on Kubernetes, we work on all these These are a couple of 2-3 stuff we work with. I don't know, a couple of one graphics is missing. Yeah. So, it was a search where I can get some sort of, the database application, Kubernetes, automated deployment and then a good CI/CD pipeline. You can spin it just like that. In a moment, in a couple of minutes, the application cluster will be up and down. That is absolutely fine. What about the data? Data gone, it's gone. So, we tried with a number of databases, and that was the right time maybe in the industry. Distributed SQL systems were getting introduced. And any of you tried a distributed SQL? Just raise your hand. Just at least, heard about or tested about. Any of you? Oh, great. Cool. So there are 4 major ones. I'll just give the names. The first one is definitely Google Spanner. I'm a Google fan. Then the second one is, let's say, another Google Spanner. One and only limitation I have felt is like you can only consume it from Google. You cannot deploy it on-prem. The second one is CockroachDB, another good distributed database. And the third one is my personal favorite, that is YugabyteDB. And the fourth one is TIDB, that is an origination, something is from China, so we don't much into that database. So we tested the first 3, in fact, to work with our solution with a set limitation for GCP, or let's say the Google Spanner, we left it. Then the second one was CockroachDB and YugabyteDB comparison in front of us. Out of this, we got a serious, let's say, we got really romantic with the DB, which is seriously promising the same thing what we were thinking about. You can scale the database, you can keep a heavy workload on top of it, and let's say horizontal scale, vertical scale. I don't want to go deeper into that tech keywords. I just give a couple of things what we observed. Today we have deployments in the market with YugabyteDB in scale. And very recent deployment we done in Qatar for one of our reputed client called Unimoney Qatar. And amazingly, the surprising thing for me, we were this hardly 2+ months now, and I was keep on observing this thing. And with the same infrastructure we were using for Postgres previously, and we just use it for this one in a distributed one with a multi-node cluster. And the beautiful thing was I was observing the peak load that was 8% consistent. That is such an amazing stuff. And the scale of that cluster, now they are having hundreds of thousands of cross-border transactions. If they wish to grow it, let's say millions of transactions in the future, for us, it is a matter of time. Just add the nodes into the cluster, just scale it up, it will work smooth. Not just the application. Every application, if you believe, the speed is just in the application engineering. No. It is a combined speed of the, or let's say, an application speed typically a database system is in place, the least performing component, that is the speed of the application, right? Let's say, if you have a performing database, a promising distributed workload, handling database, on top of it, if you keep your all these luxurious components like the replications, Kubernetes, everything on top of it, then if they work all together, you get an amazing stuff. Just like we see the UPI, even UPI is using YugabyteDB for their some of their operations later ones. So here I wish to stop because of the time limitation. Any doubts you have, you can ask. I think there is a small Q&A. Or if it is open, it's fine. Thank you so much. We'll catch up there down. We have a Gigabyte and our booth is there. Anything you want to catch up with us, ask. We'll be more than happy to. Thank you so much. Take care.